There's a moment in every miner's life when the ground stops feeling like opportunity and starts feeling like judgment. For Rick Ness, that moment doesn't arrive all at once. It creeps in. It lives in the silence before sunrise, in the cold air hanging over a broken cut, in the sound of heavy machinery coughing to life like it's already exhausted. Out here, nothing is guaranteed. Not the weather, not the equipment, not the pay dirt, and certainly not a second chance. Rick on the Edge feels less like a title and more like a warning, because this isn't just another chapter in the hunt for gold. It's the story of a man standing at the fragile edge of faith, money, leadership, and survival. Every ounce matters, every decision echoes, and every hour that passes threatens to turn ambition into regret. In the brutal world of gold rush, fortunes are never simply found. They are fought for, doubted, nearly lost, and sometimes dragged out of the earth with bleeding hands and fading hope. That's what makes Rick's journey so gripping. Beneath the mud, the noise, and the numbers, there is something more human at stake: pride, redemption, and the terrifying possibility that after all the sacrifice, the ground may still give nothing back. And as the day begins to break over the claim, one truth settles in with the district: it's just mining for gold anymore. He's mining for proof that he still belongs in this fight. Rick's story has never been built on comfort. He's not the kind of man whose path was paved in certainty. His rise in the gold fields came through sheer toughness, through long days, hard lessons, and the kind of resilience that only gets forged when failure keeps showing up at your door. But gold mining has a cruel memory. It never cares what you survived last season. It never rewards effort simply because effort was given. Every year begins at zero, and the earth demands that you earn belief all over again. That is the quiet brutality of this world. Men don't just battle nature. They battle time, debt, exhaustion, and the unbearable weight of expectation. Rick carries all of that with him into this episode. He carries the history of past setbacks, the pressure of keeping a crew moving, and the knowledge that leadership in a place like this can feel brutally lonely. Because when the numbers fall short, when the repairs pile up, when the wash plant slows and the gold room stays light, it's the boss who has to look everyone in the eye and say, "Keep going." That's the tension simmering beneath every scene. This isn't just about a claim or a weekly haul. It's about whether grit is enough when the margin for error has all but disappeared. And as Rick pushes deeper into the season, deeper into the gamble, the landscape around him begins to feel less like a frontier and more like a test, one designed to reveal exactly how much pressure a man can absorb before something finally breaks. At first, the trouble never announces itself with a single dramatic blow. It arrives the way it often does in mining, piece by piece, problem by problem, until the pressure becomes impossible to ignore. A machine goes down at the wrong time. A repair takes longer than it should. Promising ground turns uncertain. Hours disappear. Fuel burns. Morale thins. And then the deeper fear begins to take shape, because in gold mining, small delays are never really small. They multiply. They spread through the operation like cracks through ice. One lost day can ruin a week. One thin cleanup can shake an entire crew's confidence. Suddenly the math becomes ruthless. The season is no longer measured in dreams, but in narrowing windows and rising cost. For Rick, that's where the real suspense lies, not in the fantasy of instant success, but in the slow tightening of reality. You can feel it in the rhythm of the work. The digging becomes more urgent. The conversations get shorter. The hope that once felt motivating starts to feel expensive. And with every setback, Rick is pushed into a harder question. How much more can he risk before this stops being a comeback and becomes a collapse? That's what makes this chapter so compelling. The mine itself becomes almost like a character, silent, indifferent, impossible to read. It offers just enough possibility to keep them chasing, but never enough certainty to let them breathe. By now, Rick is no longer simply trying to win. He's trying to hold the line, trying to keep doubt from infecting the crew, trying to outrun the sense that the whole operation is leaning over a cliff, and the next wrong move could send it over the edge. And as the tension builds, one thing becomes painfully clear. In this world, the greatest threat is not just bad ground. It's the moment when belief begins to run out before the gold arrives. Then comes the turning point, the moment every hard season eventually demands, when a miner has to decide whether to retreat from the risk or drive straight through it. For Rick, it lands with the full emotional weight of everything that came before. There is no clean answer here. No safe path. No guarantee waiting on the other side. Only a choice. Push harder. Spend more. Trust the cut. Trust the crew. Trust the instinct that says there is still something worth chasing beneath all this uncertainty. Or pull back. Protect what's left. And live with the haunting possibility that the gold was just one more push away. That's the agony of leadership in a place like this. Courage doesn't feel cinematic when you're standing in it. It feels exhausting. It feels terrifying. It feels like carrying everyone's future in a decision made under mud-spattered skies with engines roaring in the background. And yet, this is where Rick becomes most compelling, at the precise point where fear is loudest. Because instead of collapsing under that pressure, he leans into it. The crew moves. The cut deepens. The machinery pounds on. And suddenly every second is charged with suspense. The wash plant isn't just processing dirt anymore. It's processing doubt, sacrifice, and the possibility of redemption. This is the heartbeat of the episode, the instant when everything narrows into one question: was all this pain leading somewhere, or nowhere at all? You can almost feel the air tighten as the operation reaches for an answer. Because in gold mining, the turning point never arrives with speeches. It arrives with action, with risk, with one last gamble made in the shadow of failure. And for Rick, standing on that edge, the gamble is no longer theoretical. It is personal. It is absolute. It is now. What follows is the kind of resolution that lingers long after the numbers are counted, because the true payoff in a story like this is never only measured in gold. It's measured in what the pursuit reveals. About the man, about the cost, about the brutal honesty of a life where the earth can strip away ego and illusion, leaving behind only character. Whether Rick finds the haul he needs or simply earns another day in the fight, the emotional truth remains the same. This journey is about endurance much as reward. It's about showing up when the odds are ugly. It's about making peace with uncertainty and stepping forward anyway. And maybe that's why Rick on the Edge resonates beyond the mine itself. Because beneath the excavators and sluice boxes, it speaks to something familiar in all of us: the fear of coming this far only to fail, and the stubborn hope that keeps us moving even when failure feels close enough to touch. In the end, Rick's story is not just about treasure buried in frozen ground. It's about a man refusing to let adversity write the final line for him. The gold, if it comes, is only the visible reward. The invisible one is harder won. The proof that even at the edge of doubt, exhaustion, and loss, he did not stop. He did not fold. He did not walk away. And as the dust settles over the claim and the noise finally fades into the northern silence, one final truth remains: sometimes the most powerful victory is not what you pull from the ground, but what you discover about yourself when the ground tests everything you are.